let's get into it. So I got Kenny on here, Mike and Tyler. They're all Spectator Drags guys. Tyler does all the filming and videography. Kenny, he sometimes drives a car successfully.
Wow, you're going to bring it there. Okay, let's wait one way to start.
You were in my garage last year with a broken car, and then this year you were reaching out to me again with a broken car.
I did.
You guys are down here for Spectator Drags, and unfortunately it got rained out. Not yet, because it hasn't really technically rained out yet, but they canceled it. So, you know, we decided to do this anyways. We're going to do like an event pregame like I do often for the Spectator Drags. 10 grand to win at the Freedom Factory. It was going to be a pretty awesome event. I don't know if they've talked about postponing it at all. I'm not truly up to date on that. I'd love to shout it out if they are.
No postpone.
No postpone date at all yet? Okay.
Yeah, no, it was too much. I know they got... When I seen it, I knew they had the Christmas tree drags the next weekend, and then it's Christmas, and then it's like, how do you do that?
Exactly. So, rain dates are tough because there's only 52 weekends a year, and there's always something that happens, and it's just kind of, it is what it is. It's unfortunate, but you guys still were down here for testing, so we figured we'd come on and talk about Spectator Drags. I feel like not that many people know about it. It's kind of they know about it, but they may not understand it as in-depth as drag racing because it's kind of a little more niche, I would say. So we can talk about this. Mike, I didn't really introduce you at all. What was your background on this whole deal?
Well, I've been doing Spectator Drags for like 20 years now. I went years undefeated at Seekonk, and I don't know. I've just been at it for a long time.
He has the Red 3000 GT.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Red 3000 GT, and then you have the, what is it, an Eagle Talon? Or
it's an Eclipse.
The Eclipse, okay.
Same thing.
I know those cars very poorly. Like DSM stuff.
Listen,
no idea.
You took the right path. Okay?
I know it's a DSM.
Dodged a missile on that.
I know it's a DSM, and it's weird because that seems like the only good thing DSMs are for Spectator Drags, because drag racing DSMs questionable. Spectator Drags pretty great.
Yeah.
It's a weird combo how that works somehow. But no rain delay, no rain out on that deal yet. It's just kind of going with it, and then you guys are all from the Northeast, so you made like 18-hour drive down here from Mass?
Yeah, that's if you can drive the entire way. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually it's 20.
South Florida now, so.
Oh, so that's not too bad.
Yeah, he moved down to Florida, so
had to escape the cold.
Yeah, that's the best way. Well, I'm from Long Island originally, so I understand the Northeast. And
is that where Charlie's from? Long Island?
Yeah, Long Island.
We're not supposed to like each other, us Long Island, Massachusetts guys.
Really?
I've always felt that maybe it just comes from the Long Island side because we have this like inbred into us like macho manness that I think
Long Island has macho, really? I thought it was more uppity.
No, like Central Long Island thinks that they're like the toughest people in the whole like.
Charlie doesn't give off.
The whole United States.
that explains a lot right now.
They nickname it Strong Island.
Shout out Charlie.
They legitimately call it Strong Island because they think that it's like so like superior to all this other stuff. But
kidding.
I left Long Island because that place is just kind of desolate.
You have to take. There's only like one way in, one way out type deal, right?
Yeah.
There's a bridge.
Just the one entrance, and once you're far enough out on Long Island, it's just one road with like 2 lanes. So you don't really want to commit any crimes there because they can get you pretty easily. But yet, a lot of crimes kind of happen there. So the Spectator Drags, what's like the gist of it for people that have never really seen it?
Man, it's just one. It's one-on-one. It's the most, in my opinion, it's the most rawest form of racing that you could get involved in. That no other racing really brings to the table. You have your road course guys that, you know, and they're the autocross guys that drive around cones and corners alone, and you have your drag race guys that are driving straight, and there's really no risk of like door-to-door action of passing and stuff. But as far as like your normal, like anyone can enter, let's go get it done. It's one-on-one, generally one lap on an oval track, usually a third of a mile, and it's basically king of the hill. Who winner goes back in line, and loser goes home, and last man standing. That's who wins.
Is it normally just one lap? Because I thought at the Freedom Factory they did 2, where you're inside or outside.
So people are like modifying the Spectator Drags for more action and just different. as all-wheel drive is more of more dominates, so they try to introduce that second lap for the other guys to catch up, which does happen a lot.
Best of 3 races.
Yeah, they do 2 out of 3. They swap. So like at Freedom Factory they do 1 lap, but it's best 2 out of 3 as you go through eliminations.
Yeah, so it's 1 lap from a stop.
Yep.
But they do 2 out of 3.
Best 2 out of 3.
That makes sense. Yeah. It's only the 1 lap though, of course, instead of. That's what I meant by 2 laps.
Oh, okay.
2 starts, I guess you would say, not 2 laps, but.
Yeah, and they start introducing like 2 laps, 3 laps, like on 1 race. And so they do like to throw some curveballs at you. It depends on really what track you go to.
Last year we did 3 cars, 3 laps for the final almost every time.
Yeah, they threw a curve where we race at a lot. Seekonk, they will go 3 wide, like your last 3 guys. But like, guess what?
Wow.
Get out there. And I think they did that accidentally. There was a time constraint with another program they had scheduled that day, and they're like, "Hey, get out there, all 3 of you guys, get out, just get this event over with."
That adds a lot to it because you're normally looking for 1 guy, and then suddenly all of these laps you just did all day are kind of thrown out the window because now you're trying to either box out 2 people or, oh man, that's tough. That probably adds a whole different level to it. It's crazy too because people wreck really nice cars in spectator drags, and I think that's been like the 20-year thing that I saw on the internet of it was like it'd always be like when I first saw it was always like the nicest brand new Corvette that just came out that year backs it into the wall.
That's the video that goes viral every
exactly.
time.
Yeah, well, it's funny because like that's the 1 out of the hundreds of races that are actually happening, so you could compare that to any form of motorsports.
Also, not to discourage people from racing spectator drags because you're going to crash your car. I'm a true believer that if you want to crash, if you want to make contact, you're going to. Like if you at any point in time you can decide not to.
Yeah.
That's how I personally feel.
You do have brakes.
Yeah, you don't have to come out of turn 4 like hot trying to like door to door. No one wants to crash, So at any point in time you can let out. It's but sometimes
if you're willing to not win, you can avoid it.
Well, I feel like some people come out in those expensive cars and they feel like they're going to get laughed at if they don't win. Like, if I don't beat this 96 DSM, like I'm looking like an idiot.
You know what I mean? So when they first did spectator drags at the Freedom Factory, like McLarens and C8s.
Yeah, we were there with our 90s Mitsubishis and no one had a clue who we were and we were just spanking everybody, and they were like, "Who? What is this?" And that's a cool thing about it is you go to a car show or back in the day, you show up to the races, the street races or whatever, and you're like, "Hey, you want to run or this and that." At spectator drags, you don't get to choose. You line up with who you line up. So if you're at Stop and Shop or whatever, a supermarket around here, and you see a Lambo, hey, you want to run it? They're probably going to tell you no, right? Spectator drags, they can't say no. So when the nice cars show up, they have to run.
The guys at the red light that I pull up with can't really decide if they're not racing either. I'll just go regardless. They don't know if they're racing.
Hey, kill's a kill, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't even always win.
But yeah, that's like one of the best parts is it's the street cars on the circle track, so you never know what you're going to get out there. And the viewer, too, like this is starting to go on the internet, and the viewer can see themselves doing it because anyone can. Take their street car out there, have fun, enjoy, really make new friends, all share the same passion. And so it's something that is like there's no disconnect, with like NASCAR. A lot of people get bored of that stuff, and it's just the same kind of copy and paste over time and whatnot. Not to, diss NASCAR. But with the spectator drags, there's more variety. There's constantly moving factors that are always changing, and it's like inclusive to everybody.
Yeah, it's
really cool.
It's really the only way you can door-to-door race any car you own.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other way, like, you can have anything, name your car that you daily drive, your Kia Optima, and you can actually go door-to-door race that. There's no other form of motorsports that I know of, maybe like Lemons, that you can do that. But like realistically, you can't.
It's the equivalent of a bar fight, but with daily drivers.
Yeah.
Those people that, man, I remember my first time. So those people that show up with like those basic cars, those basic dailies, their first time ever doing it, they're honestly having the most fun out of everybody. There's no pressure. They're not supposed to win. They're not supposed to lose. It's just they're just out there having a blast.
It's hard to overdrive a Kia Optima. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to overdrive your Volkswagen Golf, really, where it's going to, like, get super out of hand. I mean, unless you really do something stupid. But, like, those cars, you should be able to wide open throttle around the Freedom Factory.
Just hold it.
Pretty well.
Yeah,
you know, a car like that. Ideally. But some of these stock cars are pretty fast. Like, some of these Kias are pretty stout.
Yeah. You get a new car these days. A lot of stock cars run like 12s, 13s, like right out of the box, like basic.
Yeah.
Sometimes 14s, maybe
Especially like the good tire. I mean, that's kind of where the whole debate of like street car kind of comes into it, and that comes in any form of motorsports is where does it stop becoming a street car? Where does it become an actual race car? It's kind of the Spectator drags probably debate that everybody ends up in.
And it's always changing too.
But the problem is, I know it's like this in drag racing, you make these rules and it's usually just the cheap cars and the budget teams that really get screwed by them. Because the fastest cars that are true street cars are probably true street cars. Like the Porsches and the GTRs and stuff like that.
Yeah, when you start introducing that exotic element, I guess you could say, it's tough to beat those cars because they're so well built and they're so reliable, and they can just go around like Cletus's Porsche. That is insane. Ridiculous. Like, I know how fast those cars are, and that was one of my cars that I said, if we run into this car and a few others, we're gonna have trouble. And of course, he buys that one. So like that, you know, that car is on the list, an Audi RS4. You know, there are some cars out there that would completely clean up.
GT3.
Yeah, GT3, even a Tesla Plaid. I mean,
would the GT3s be that good, even though they're rear-wheel drive?
I think so. When as long as you, because they're rear-wheel drive, the engine's over the weight's over the axle.
They launch really well.
So same thing with like a C8, but the C8's like a tank.
Yeah.
But that car would do really well. So
that's why like the R8s, nobody's really like super scared of them either because they're so heavy and they're not nimble like a Porsche. But then those like the TTRSs, those seem like they would be pretty good because they're small and you can kind of launch them pretty hard.
There's so many cars out there that will do I would love to see like start racing. Like I was driving around today and I pulled into this parking spot and I was like, wow, it's a sick Audi. I'm not really an Audi guy, but it looked pretty good. It looked pretty fast. I was like, why isn't he racing at the track rental today? You know, like there's a lot of cars out there that would dominate, that would do really well, and they just don't know about it. They just don't do it, and we would love more people participating. And it's not the if you focus on the bad and the crashing all the time, there's not a lot of that goes on.
Well, yeah, it's the same at drag racing. I mean, you can't be afraid of crashing because, yes, they do happen, but, like, you know, you have to be confident that you can handle a situation.
What's insane is that I'm sure we all have driven down the highway and seen some crazy driver making unnecessary risks, switching lanes, driving all nuts, risking the public.
Wife, have you?
What does she drive?
She drives a little Trailblazer, but
why isn't she entered? I'm just saying that in a controlled environment, like if you're driving like that out on the highway or the main roads and you're doing that stuff, like, come race the Spectator drags. Like, you know, it's a lot less risk, I'll tell you that, you know, and you have a chance to win some money.
How readily available are they? That's probably a better question for you because you're in this area and you film them all. How many other tracks do them? Because I only know of really the Freedom Factory, but I'm sure that's not true at all.
Yeah, so being from the Northeast, like we, say all of us, like our home track is Seekonk Speedway. And so that's one that, you know, they started having a points series. And so they went from like these, big shows they call thrill shows where they'd have the spectator drags and enduros and figure eights, demolition derby, all the fun stuff. And they would have that 4 times a year. And then they started doing 10 events a season. And so they had been growing over time, and it's been catching on to tracks around New Hampshire, Connecticut.
Michigan popped off one.
And Michigan had one this year.
Their first one, 5K to win, right out of the gate.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%. So we all made the trip there, 100%. And Charlie, who we were talking about earlier, he took it. He took the win.
What car is he in?
The Blazer.
The Blazer,
Yeah.
the 3-wheeling Blazer.
Everybody knows the
Blazer.
Blazer.
It's hard not to. I mean, he definitely sends it pretty hard when he drives that thing with the crazy wrap on the back. The what is it? The illusion.
Yeah.
Yep.
The hypnotist.
Yeah.
But it's definitely catching on more. It's growing, and it's super cool to see different tracks opening more up to it, and really just like keeping circle track racing alive and keeping the passion going, and all the people that that share it together. That's what it's all about.
It's pretty crazy because like $10,000 to win, like a $10,000 car could potentially win it, which is kind of interesting. There's very few, or a $20,000
Kenny
car.
Smarks.
Like there's very few facets of racing where you can win half the value of your vehicle in one event. I don't like drag racing. You win like $5,000 with a $180,000 vehicle, so it's like kind of like a joke in that aspect. But it's weird to actually win significance in cash.
Yeah, well, I spent when Cletus announced that Spectator Drag Championship for the 10K, I didn't even really have a car built for that. I spent that 10K in the first couple of weeks. I was like, doesn't matter, I'm gonna win. I'm getting this back, and
Pre-spend it.
and then I spent double that. And I'm like, well, at least I'm only looking at half of it, so I'm still getting a deal.
It's an investment.
But yeah, anyone can. Man, you could build some pretty good cars and not have that bad of a loss, and actually get some money back on a decent return if you spend it correctly.
And it's just getting started too. There's going to be more competitions, and huge shout out to Garrett, Cletus and the team for really believing in and growing the sport too. Because he's a major part of it, of growing the exposure, 100%.
Yeah, I know he probably doesn't make a whole lot of money hosting these events. I don't think he makes what he pays out.
Yeah.
So for him to keep on doing it and stay committed and doing it, that's awesome.
He likes events he can win. That's part of it.
Yeah.
That's why there's no drifting at the Pregame factory.
The thing. He's like, all right, listen, this is how I net a positive return here. I just have to win my own event.
I'll buy my wife a car.
He says that, but he always sends the winnings down to the next place.
Yeah.
He does. He turns it down to the next guys. The same stuff in the burnout contest. He always, if any of his guys win, they usually give it to the second place, which is. It's nice for second place, but you also feel like you didn't really win it.
Yeah.
Especially in spectator drags where burnouts are a judge sport. Spectator drags are like a pass-fail. It's pretty cut and dry. You don't, you kind of know who won, which I like about drag racing the same way. Any judge sports are always a little tough. There is judging though, right? Because you can't intentionally put somebody into a wall. You can't box
no intentional contact at all.
Yeah, there's no, but somebody has to be the judge of that, whether it was intentional or not, 100%. Which is tough. You need a race master that's qualified to do that, which gets tough.
It's a kind of a gray area because it doesn't happen a lot, and it's one of those things. I think, it is tough. It is tough. You're right.
Because a couple years back or whatever, when Garrett first started doing it, there was that ZR1 that went into the wall, I think. And it was a truck that did it.
Oh, that technically cut him off.
But it wasn't, he didn't do it on purpose.
No.
But they also kind of said he did. But we're talking a $10,000 truck and a $200,000 ZR1. So it's you know, what are
The
you
two
gonna...
vehicles didn't touch, though.
No, the two vehicles didn't touch. It's a tough one. That's why those Teslas are kind of nice. I've seen them stop themselves from hitting other cars. They're like deet deet deet, like stop from hitting the wall.
Listen, those Teslas, that's on another level. Those cars should not be illegal for people. I mean, they shouldn't be legal for people to own and drive, like the Plaids. Like that, who needs that? Like when I rented one in Michigan, like that is ridiculous. If someone could find a way to disable all that, I guess the steering angle and the throttle response when you're, or however way it's figuring it out, those cars will dominate spectator drags, like completely dominate. And they're really affordable. Like they're not bad if you look at it. Like they're like $80,000-$90,000.
Yeah, I mean they're cheaper than the Porsche.
Exactly.
And so it's like, you
throw a tire on a Tesla, just cut some weight out of it, like they'll just go.
You can cut a lot of weight out of them too. You can pull a lot of weight.
They 60 like nothing other. I mean those are high 8-second, low 9-second cars, factory. So they 60 like no other car. And at that point, when you get going with the spectator drags, you're out front. So now you're traffic. So even if a car is faster in a lap, you still only have one lap to have to overcome that Tesla. And as long as you don't overdrive it, but
and people don't realize they are really good handling because the weight is as low as possible. Like the weight is under the car. Yeah, like there's no other car that has that low of a center of gravity. Even the Porsches, because they have an engine that's sits up high, and it's hard to compete with that. If they just if the coupe comes out, the Roadster, that thing out of the box, nothing is touching that, and it's pretty crazy to think that they would be so dominant in this in this racing.
But I like everyone on the internet. They kind of go nuts about when electric vehicles enter the spectator drags. They freak out. They're like, they shouldn't be allowed. This is unfair. They should have their own class. And it's like, well, who's he gonna race himself? Like, there's no one else in it. Yeah. And I like having that. That's the whole purpose of the spectator drags. Like, you race everybody, you know. And yeah, the electric cars are fast, but they're beatable.
Yeah, I don't think they've won just outright every event.
It's the person that won the spectator drags last year at Kline's place. He won.
Was it a Tesla?
Yeah, but I'm hearing.
Wasn't it? Wait, wasn't the first and second place Tesla too? Wasn't there a black one and a white one that were like going back and forth with each other, and then
the Evo got second.
The Evo got second. Okay.
But the Tesla that we're talking about here is kind of separate from all the other ones, because I'm hearing rumors that he has like $1 million race team or something like that. Like this is what he does. Like he raises the thing.
I know he set records at
like Pikes Peak and
Mount Washington.
Yeah, so when he showed up, like I instantly got hard on him. Like yes, like a race car. Like let's go get it. You know. So, but he was actually scheduled to come to this one. He was like one of the guys a lot of people were shooting for, you know? Yeah, to beat, you know? So,
man, we're getting all hyped up for an event that can't happen now. I'm all pissed.
Us as racers, we want them, but the internet does not.
We'll be back next year, too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'll come to everyone.
Because this episode was scheduled to go out tomorrow morning, Friday, at 8 a.m. before the event this weekend, you know, to get people fired up, but it's coming out way later now, just so if anybody's listening understands the original intentions versus how Mother Nature decides to have a hurricane in December. One of those classics, you know.
You got to make the most of it.
Yeah.
We had a pretty good, successful track rental today. That was one of the spectator drag people ended up rented the track. She fronted the thing.
Scott and Jen.
Yeah.
Okay.
The really awesome time. Like we rented the whole track and we just did spectator drags all day. Like it wasn't like wasn't just like there was no formal like we line up. It was just like do it like whatever. You just roll out there. You just run someone. Some people were going 1 lap. Some people were going 5 laps. Some people were making solo. And then you come out, have a burger, go back out.
Yeah.
So the thing with spectator drags, like an actual competition, is that when you lose, you're out. Here,
Takes the pressure off.
yeah, no pressure. Just like, oh, I don't care. Like,
Well, it's a test and tune,
yeah,
really, because you
yeah.
need that. You know,
We've
nobody
never
expects you to
once
be
had
good.
a test and tune.
Such a blast.
I've been
today.
asking
like,
Seekonk for 20 years to rent the track, to go with like the race car test and tunes. Can we show up with them? Never let us do it.
That's
this
crazy.
was the first time ever that we got
That anyone's
to do, like,
ever
test
done.
and tune day.
Not
for
only
spectators.
did they do that, but they gave us transponders. So
I know.
we've always wanted to see where like what we get for time.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah,
what you're running.
What do we run
We
for
watched
times?
the videos
We
the
don't-
next day.
Yeah, we're like
stopwatch.
Yeah, we're like, all right, start on YouTube and then like stop and we look at the times.
Yeah.
It's like, all right. So we never this entire time we've never had times until today. So that's another thing
cool.
they did for us. So now we're starting to build like a base. Like this is actually on record. Like this is what we start. This is what we're running.
Well,
So
it's interesting too because a fast like Crown Vic lap is like 19 seconds, but that's rolling. So it doesn't really translate over to a stop-start
sure.
because you never do that in the Crown Vics.
No.
But you guys are probably still going fast at that because you're not in a Crown Vic.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of us are like in the 17s and 18s
Oh, wow.
and 19s from a stop. Yeah.
A 17 is super
but
healthy.
it's kind of the starting line where we start from is probably, I don't know, I would say 60 to 100 feet back from where the transponder picks up. So we are kind of rolling, but we're not at full speed. You know, they start us back right behind where it picks up, and we launch into that.
Yeah.
So and then if you do a second lap, then sure, but yeah, transponders never once. Awesome
Yeah.
to get a time. I really like it. And a lot of guys really were pushing for it because
Well, having test and tunes will only elevate the whole sport because, like I said, you can't expect people to be good. Just like, hey, have at it. Like, you kind of need to feel it out. Every track's a little different. There's pits and there's holes that you might want to try to avoid. There's bank tracks are so different. Like the Freedom Factory is what they used to call mini Daytona because of how aggressive the bank is. And I don't know how aggressive the bank is that you guys normally race on, but
It's pretty aggressive.
is it?
It's just a smaller track.
yeah, I don't know. I would say walking on both of those tracks, Freedom Factory is more banked for sure. One of the most banked. I got a question for you. Why haven't you ran out there in the Spectator drags?
I'm a horrible driver.
Come on.
I've told people plenty of times my skill with driving stops as soon as I get to that turn off at the end of the drag strip. That's about it. Like, that straight line, and then I get to that turn,
You
and I'm
struggle
like,
at the turn.
oh no, the turn one, and I'm good right there. I'm like, all right, I'm safe. I made it. That's where I get worried. You know, drag strip's fine. That first turn, that's where it gets worried. But I also don't have anything that I would really feel comfortable pushing to a point where I think it would be good. Like, I don't want to take a car out there and drive it like, 210s type of deal. I want to like have a car that's like you can drive at 8/10 and actually like
Be competitive.
run it out and be
Yeah.
competitive. Yeah, because like I'd hate to
No, I feel
drive
you.
a nice car and just drive it like a wimp. You get what I'm kind of saying there?
Yeah, no,
or am
I do,
just
I do.
justifying my own wimpiness?
No, I get it.
You can move this mic as you want to.
No, I understand. It's I don't know. When the first time I watched Spectator drags, I had no idea what Spectator drags were. I was right down the road and I heard about it. It was you and Sean Pace, and I was like, what is this? And I rolled down there.
Never forget your first Spectator
Listen,
drag.
I was a drag racer. I was old school drag racer, street racer, track. That's what I did. And I didn't even know Spectator drags existed, that you could even race your car around a circle track. And I rolled down to this track that was like half a mile down the road from my work. And I get in, I'm watching this and I'm like, what is this? And people are just battling. They are just battling. I'm like, I instantly retired from drag racing right there. And I was like, I want to do spectator drags.
Yeah.
Like, this is cool. And I did. I was in the middle of building a car. I was like, we're not doing drag anymore. We're doing this. And I remember, and I went out there and I chased him for an entire season trying to beat him. He was the champion.
It does incorporate drag racing in it, which is cool.
It does.
3 different occasions, basically. It incorporates side-by-side drag racing. From the start, it's got the light and everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do they call red lights there or anything? Or
we're not there yet.
Okay.
Like, it's kind of like, okay,
So-
back up, do it over, you know? So,
you gotta watch Garrett, because he'll jump if you give him the opportunity.
yeah, well, I haven't seen it yet, but I would imagine if it gets competitive enough where there's real money on the line, like you jump, you're out. Like,
Well, they had replays last year. They tried to call me on the Porsche. Remember? Halfway through the lap, they threw the yellows on. They're like, "Oh, he jumped. Yeah, he jumped. He jumped."
yeah, it's
And then they reviewed it, and they're like, "Oh no, he didn't. It was clean."
it was
Yeah.
it was tough. It was tough at Freedom because they were doing the flag. So when you're going, I being you know old school street racer, when I see stage, you ready, and as soon as I see you like fart, I'm moving, you know.
flinch,
yeah,
any-
like I'm moving. So I got called on a jump one time, and I'm like, listen, the guy shifted from his by the time you leave on yellow, you don't
Yeah.
leave on green. So when I see that, you know, so they got rid of the flag and now they do instant green, which is like no doubt. There's no like pre-stage. There's none of that. It's just
You can't jump it.
yeah, you can't.
That's
You-
kind of interesting too, because that kind of screws up the guys that are on like a timed 2-step, like somebody like a GTR who only has like
7 seconds. Yeah,
not even. I don't think sometimes like the tuned ones can like be even more finicky, and like a Porsche you only get like a you can only sit there for so
well, you know
long.
what? That's what makes spectator drags, man. That's the
That's what
element.
makes it interesting,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the element. Like you being aware of it, and it was tough to sit on the. I sit on a 2-step. And you don't want to sit. Now that I'm auto, I definitely don't want to sit on the 2-step too long.
Yeah, you
So like I'm constantly like, all right, wait a second. Like is the entire track ready for me to come up to the line?
Yeah.
And then I go and I'm like, is everyone? And I kind of look at body language and I'm like, okay, let's go. And I'm like, please just don't have like a delay of some sort that I didn't see.
Because that always happens.
Yeah, you'll see something that'll
You
pop
almost have
up.
to bump in.
Yeah, and then I kind of like I'll get back off of it. I'm like, oh man, this is not good. Get back on it. So the GTR guys, yeah, when that happens, it's you just don't know. But that's the cool thing about spectator drags, man. You don't know. You don't know. You don't know. You just have to be ready to go all the time and having a car that could turn laps.
How long does your car take a minute to get up? Because it's auto now, but wasn't your car before stick shift?
Yeah, it was manual when it was. Yeah,
With the red car you had last year here.
Yeah.
And that was, did we even say that was how we met, was you had a broken car
yeah.
and you came here to weld a bunch of stuff.
Broke it on the way down.
Yeah, you somehow broke it on the way here.
Yeah, I stopped at a dyno on the way down because I couldn't test back home. It was wintertime and up there it's salt cover the roads, and I was like, all right, well let me just tune it halfway down in North Carolina. A buddy of mine had a shop, and we put it on the dyno, and then everything was good. You know, I just needed to do a couple things, and I was like, all right, cool. And then I get peer pressured and doing a test launch in his driveway, and yeah, rip the whole thing, rear diff out of the car.
Same thing that's broke now.
Yeah, well, it survived, but it paid its dues. So
A lot of people won't dyno those cars, which is interesting. Like some people won't let them on their dyno because they're like, it's gonna break. I'm not putting it on my dyno. I've heard tuners say that to me. DSMs, they're just like, don't know.
they're a popular car because they're cheap and easy to make turbo power. You know, there's no other. What other car can you go buy that's like factory turbo that you can go buy for like $2,000 or $3,000? You know, they're not out there. So a lot of people buy them. They're hacked together, and then when they go on the dyno,
They oil it down.
Yeah, it happens. And I got a buddy that tunes some of them, and he's like, it's such a, like, not many people want to tune them because it's that risk that tuners don't like touching them. And that's kind of what he said. But he put an LS in his DSM, so it was a little backwards. Which is a weird deal to do.
yeah. When I tune a lot of Mitsubishis too, and everyone thinks like, oh, we got to go to a dyno. I'm like, listen, let's not do that, because I promise you, your first street pull on wastegate, I'm gonna find like 30 things wrong that you're gonna have to fix. You're gonna be rescheduling that dyno. So I try to keep them off the dyno until like it's clean A to B. Then it's like, all right, you can finish it up. But yeah, Mitsubishi's tough, man. Like if you don't own a Mitsubishi, like good for you.
I've never gotten the privilege. Thought about it because everybody loves the 4G. It's such a
they're a really cool motor. Really bad drive line. Really bad drive line.
Even the fastest 3000 has a 4G.
Yeah,
They make such good sounds, though. They really do make some of the best 4-cylinder sounds ever. The 4Gs.
The thing with 4Gs is they're closed deck factory, so it's not a Honda. You don't have to sleeve it. You can just do off the shelf stock, throw in some pistons and rods, and make 700-800 horsepower effortlessly.
Yeah.
And the block will eventually crack, but when you're at that point, you've already gone through like 8 transmissions, you know. So, but yeah, they're an easy car. Like if you were gonna build one, you could do one for like 400 or 500 horsepower. It would last a long time. But at this point in age, being you have to pull the motor. You have to pull the motor, and you have to like just rebuild the whole thing. Yeah. And because if you don't, it's leaking oil from every passage possible.
Well, finding the parts has got to start to get tough now too. Is like these OEM replacement parts. I don't know how much Mitsubishi keeps them on the.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough right now. You're working with a lot of used stuff and just refurbishing it or hoping it's still good. There is some decent aftermarket support, but man, I'm so jealous of the Honda community because they have everything. Because how much support they have, how many people are racing, they just make their parts.
Well, there's so
scratch.
many more Hondas too.
Yeah.
Also the DSMs, you guys have everything compared to the 3000.
Oh yeah, 3000s just that's.
You have to make it yourself. That's it.
Yeah. There's not many 3000 GT guys out there. My one buddy had a green one that it was LS all-wheel drive deal.
Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been friends on the internet for a long time.
Eric's a great dude, and unfortunately that car got wrecked, but it was really badass, no prep, LS swapped, all-wheel drive, still 3000, which was a pretty cool deal. But yeah, I mean, he tunes a lot of those cars too, and he's like, I don't like, they break, so tuners don't like to touch them, and he's one of the few that will, which is funny. How is I don't really know that world at all though, so like I could look at 50 different DSM cars and be completely lost. Maybe because they're like a little before my time, where I never really paid attention to them, or did the U.S. just... I was born in 94.
All right.
So maybe they're kind of like when I was just getting into cars, it was more domestic stuff, and that one just kind of... I overlooked them completely versus like the quintessential GTRs, Supras, and that kind of world. Mm. And you don't see GTRs out there either, which seem like they would be good because they're all-wheel drive.
Heavy car.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all push in the turns.
Even like the 32s and 34s. And
I don't think anyone's brave enough to race those.
The 32s seem like they'd be good because they're light and they build them for a lot of power, but I guess being stick shift won't really help you very much.
Well, that's
launching it consistently.
Sorry.
I
was going to say, that's one thing, like, it would be really cool to see guys who are into drifting come out and do the Spectator drags too, because you do see the 32s in drifting too. And so
honestly, somebody like Chelsea DeNofa could probably slide the bank about as fast. Yeah, like in one of his Formula Drift cars. Like I'd be curious, like if he could launch it and slide the bank both ways around, how fast he could do it.
Cleat did it, I think, in his Corvette.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I wonder what the times would be on that.
I don't know. You should probably time it
because
he was moving
pretty fast.
Yeah,
like,
he's still good.
He's cruising at like 80 miles an hour, and then wheel speeds, whatever it is.
Whenever you slide, 180 time.
Yeah, I don't know though, man. The drift cars are so gripped up. Like you wouldn't believe how much grip they put, because there's the FD cars are like a 315 tire that they're trying to spin. That takes a lot. I don't know.
It might be something someone can test one day. Maybe we get some more drifters out there.
Yeah.
And just like full send it.
Proposition to Garrett.
Registered drift cars, though, is another story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
Sometimes
right.
those are a little janky.
Yeah, they're all stripped out and not really a street car. But whatever. I mean,
Yeah, but like Garrett's Corvette's pretty street car.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That thing's probably passed. I mean, it has a cage in it, so like, how do you tell somebody they can't have a cage in their car when it's like, well, this is safety?
Yeah, it's safety, right? And you're adding weight, so like you're making your car slower.
Yeah, like, sorry, sir, you can't have that cage at this track. It's kind of tough there.
The Tesla was like that. The race Tesla was all caged, all jungle gym in there.
clicky seats.
Yeah, and then he I'm pretty sure he just zip tied his interior back in, self tappers, and
Probably
just,
6,500 pounds though.
so
Things are not light.
So the interior thing is like a tough subject because I feel that like that doesn't have any bearing on like how well you're gonna do at Spectator drags. There were a couple cars that like when you're gutted you can't enter like the street class or whatever. That's like I don't really care.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense to a point. I get it. We deal with all these same debates in the drag racing world on what's a street car, what's not. Like we have obviously different debates. We do have the fuel debate. Can you be on methanol as a street car? Should you have to cruise it? Like all these stupid things. I'm sure you guys have fuel discussions as well. No? I mean, if you put your car on methanol, it'd be pretty spicy. If it's not already on methanol.
I'm well aware.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I'm waiting for him to throw a rule book at me for anything I do. But the thing is, I just don't share what I do. So good luck.
So tell us, what do you do that breaks the rules?
Listen, take the methanol away from me. That's fine. I'll run an 85 all day. But
like a car like a Corvette C7, they spray methanol. And if you have a C7 Z06 that has a small pulley on the top, you need to spray methanol for your IATs, or else you're not going to be able to make a lap and a half or 3 laps if you have to kind of haul lap it. You're not going to be able to do that.
Methanol on a turbocharged car on Spectator drags, it's like borderline cheating because like IATs don't matter.
Yeah,
like, they just don't. You can just run it and they make some decent power. So I love it. I cut it with the 85. I don't run full methanol, but I definitely cut it. And
that's not a fun move to do though for tuning.
It's
a risky endeavor at times.
I started doing it on a bike. I started cutting it, and the gains I seen, I was making I think I cut it like a 1 to 3 mix, 3 to 1 mix, and I made like 10 more horsepower on a bike, and I was like, whoa, that was like 6 years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say on a bike that's probably like a 10% gain though.
Yeah, so I was like, and then I started getting into it with the cars, and then I started paying attention to what some guys were doing at World Cup finals when they were cutting the methanol and the ethanol and doing the fuel test, and they were getting through. So I was like, so if they're doing it, and then I started playing with it, and it's definitely
Nitromethane's pretty spicy.
Yeah,
too.
Listen, don't get me going, man, because like that's another thing to jump into, but
it's like
it's
$50
risky.
a gallon.
Yeah.
So E85 is $250 again.
Yeah, it's tough, but the methanol tuning it's not too bad.
Well, the mix, once you start mixing where it's not going to be consistent, is where I start.
Well, yeah, it's no different than not running an ethanol sensor and just getting different pumps. You have E70, you have E85, you have E60.
Well, yeah, that's sketchy too.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You have the laptop. So I guess if you don't tune your own car, sure.
Or if you have a flex fuel sensor, or even if you do tune your own car, in between rounds, you're pouring another jug in, and suddenly your contents.
Yeah, it'll read 100. You just got to shut it off.
Suddenly, it's all messed up.
Yeah, I just shut it off.
But the fuel that's actually going into the engine ends up being not the right fuel that you just tuned for.
Yeah.
But it's hard to really screw up methanol tuning once you have it kind of figured out, because it's hard. Detonating methanol is not really a thing. It doesn't really detonate.
So it's nice, and it's been an experiment for the past 2-3 years, but so far so good. I haven't melted anything down. And like I said, I'm not running full methanol, so I don't have those maintenance
What he means is he is running full methanol. He
No, I am
not. What he meant to say is if you stand by when he's on the two-step, you'll know because you'll be crying.
No, it's not. It really isn't. Like, I don't have the fuel system for that. I just threw 26 at 20. I was maxing out the 2150s that were in there. So I went 20. It's the biggest injector you can really run. So 2600s was the next step up to give me a little bit more room to start mixing more. So, but it's still, you just don't have enough. I don't have enough fuel system. You need a mechanical pump at that point.
Well, that's what my Camaro has, and I'm not on methanol. I got a mechanical pump and 2650s in it.
Yeah,
and
so
it's
still not enough, man. It's still not enough.
It never really is.
That's why I cut it. I'm like, all right, well, how much injector duty am I at? I'm 85%. Let's throw another gallon in, and that's how I. And like, all right, and then tuning it too. People think you tune on. I use Lambda in a lot of cases when it comes to methanol, but for gas ratio, I guess numbers, I'll keep it in the low 10s, like on a 50/50
on that
mix.
car?
It's a stock frame, so it lights up instantly.
Yeah.
I bought a.
So it's a stock frame with like a front, 78 on there or something, cheatered up.
Stop.
Is it one of those like GTR guys stock location, but they're 86s?
No, it's a stock frame turbo with. It has bigger wheels in it, but it has the biggest wheel you can put in it to keep it stock frame. But it's more of like a 60 millimeter. Turbo Parts Canada built it for me. They've been building my turbos forever. And we keep everything like, the wheel's not clipped. We run a smaller turbine side. So it's not crazy big because I need to come up on the converter fast.
What does it make for power then?
Like around like 600.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty healthy.
600 on a Mustang dyno through auto. So I have a T4 twin scroll manifold with debating what 60, 62 or 6466 I could throw on it and probably get another 100 horsepower, but I have that whole setup. I just haven't put it on yet. It's because as soon as you do that, then it's all right, time to start over, Yeah. So my car was all figured out for the championship. I'm like, let me just leave it. I don't think I need the extra 100.
Not having a T4 turbo is kind of nice. I mean, it'd be hard to rule out a turbo, like no T4s or something like that, but like not having that does make it more street car, tough to be like, that guy's cheatered up. It's like, I got a stock frame turbo on there.
Yeah, so the rules with Spectator drags, you have to read them. They are so basic. There's nothing like
I need car count. So you can't tighten up rules or else you don't get car count. So until you get, 100 cars knocking on the door to come in, you can't really add rules.
Exactly.
You're trying to leave
and that's
it open.
what it is. The rules, you'll read the rules and be like, I read them and it was like, that's it.
After I won that first Danger Ranger, I had posted a video and I told Cletus, I'm like, if you put a big prize, you'll get fast cars from all over traveling. We'll make it a big thing. He did it last year for the 10 grand, and I can't believe there wasn't 10 times more cars.
Yeah.
You would think people would truck in from everywhere.
It's hard. It's hard to get people to understand, I think, what it really is. And I think the barrier of entry people set on themselves in these events is like, they think it's like this whole barrier of entry, but you really just buy the tech card.
In my opinion, we're just doing it. We're just out there. I think there's a lot of faster cars than what we have.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're out there.
Absolutely.
They just don't do it. And I'm just a normal guy in my
You're
garage.
supposed to say it the other way. There isn't anybody out there faster.
Well,
come back out in November or whenever the next big event is. I don't know.
It's just a,
hopefully sooner.
I just wish I know they're out there. They just have to, like I said, being a drag racer and coming from that environment. And then seeing Spectator drags, because I didn't even know they existed. I was like, whoa, what is this? What am I watching right now? I can enter this next race? Okay, like, what do I need? What are the rules? That's it? Okay, see you guys next weekend. Like, had I known that, like, 10 years, 15 years ago, I would have been all about it.
Man,
I would have been out there with you.
Drags at Seacon since I was a little kid.
No one, I didn't know, man. I didn't know, and I know there's a lot of other people that just don't know. You have to experience it. You have to go out there for your first time and just be like, okay, and see if it's for you. And I feel like a lot of people that if what Wayne Gretzky, you know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You know, just give it a shot. Give it a shot. See if you like it. You don't know.
Yeah.
You're trying a new food. You know,
Try it out. I think test and tunes would help with that as well.
Oh my God!
100%.
Yes.
Just because people are scared to take their car out there with a full stands, which
So that
I get that.
That is also another element that there could be a lot of insecurities. Like
people are worried for the first time. You don't want to do it on a grand stage
Yeah.
a lot of the time. I mean, even like, you know, I go to some drag race events and it's a different feel when there's full stands on both sides.
so, maybe the track rental thing. Maybe they're onto something like doing the track rental because much more. We did.
Well,
it
you know,
today.
that takes away the autocross element that spectator drags used to have. Like the
Take
guys
away the
that did
spectators.
it. Well, the guys that did it all the time, the new people would never beat them because you don't have the seat time, you don't have the experience, you're just learning, and you can only learn a little bit at a time because you only get to run 1 or 2 laps, and then you have to go home until the next event. So, like, track rentals change everything because now people actually have the confidence to go out. It's not just, oh, I took my daily driver and I'm going to take it out on the track and battle with my neighbor, you know?
And also more tracks doing it because there's other circle tracks in Florida, and I'm sure all of them are sitting there thinking, how do I get more people in here? What more event? And it's always like, you know, things like Garrett's doing, spectator drags, drifting, stuff like that, burnout contests, like those kind of things that these small tracks need to do. And kind of a lot of them don't really want to change with the times, even though like spectator drags isn't something new. A lot of them, like, they use that phrase of this is how we've always done it. That always ends up hurting things, but I think that would help a lot, is smaller tracks having smaller payouts to larger events. And then you can kind of work your way up almost.
I feel the level that we're at now, where spectator drags is at now, we're riding that line where it doesn't know where it wants to go. Like it can be big, it really can. I really do believe it, but we're trying to figure out like how to push it in that direction where it is more competitive. Have a higher car count. Like I want car count to max out. I want. Like, hey, listen, too many guys registered. We got to count. Like, that'd be cool, you know, to deal with, you know, and whatever. We just got to figure it out.
used to have 150
Yeah, I know.
cars,
they used to have
cars when I first started.
car count.
Oh, wow.
They used to be like, listen, you sign up and that's it. And then as soon as you hit it, it's out. Maybe next time. Good luck. You know,
There was no signing up before. It was just cash at the gate back then.
Oh,
This was
yeah,
before
old
the
school.
internet.
Nice.
So, but
Cars were cheaper back then too.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever we can do to like help get this car count like over 100. That over 100 is
I thought it was gonna
hard
be
on
over
a car
100 for 10 grand to win.
Yeah, I thought so too.
The internet,
Yeah, you would think.
The internet's definitely bringing it to a whole nother level. You know,
Yeah.
the exposure it's getting, and you know, it's such a small town short track thing that's just catching on, and around the world too. It's not oversaturated, and it's you know, also even with like pack stands too. Like there's good fan engagement too, with like betting on different cars, and just like talking earlier, you could have a GTR out there up against, you know, Honda or something, but GTR misses the launch. Oh, now it's interesting.
We've had people launch in reverse.
Oh, yeah.
We've had people spin out coming out of turn 4,
100%.
and then won the race in reverse. That was really cool, you know.
Well, so it gets down to like how far people are going to start to push it then too, because once you really start testing, then you start to test different tires, because then you might show up with, you know, 2 different sets of tires to see what's better cold, because most of the time you go out there with cold tires, which, you know, you could put the baddest tire that any road racer uses in the world on your car, but those tires need time to heat up to their usable temperature, and like you're not going to get that on half of a lap and then think that it's up to like it takes like 20 laps for those tires to be up to temperature. So
a lot of the guys run the 100 treadwear tires, the NTO1s. I'm like, they take time to heat up. Like you probably aren't even ready to go until like the finals, if you even meet it. So
my car was always so much faster in the final. Than any
it's
other
just
race.
like, and that comes with I think there's a complete disconnect with like with experience there when really you got to do a road course day is really what you have to do, and like really understand like how tires react, because in my opinion the fastest tire is like a nice 200 tread wear tire that's going to grab cold, but then when you get in the later rounds, it doesn't do as good when you're running them hot and they get overheated. So
well, you see Toyo just came out with that new R888R. Like it's a Toyo, it's something like an R spec where it's like a Hoosier slick almost, but it's also kind of a street tire. They were just talking about it at PRI, and that seems like a pretty spicy tire.
Does it have a tread wear rating, or?
I think it does. I think it's like a street tire, but it's one of those where they're like, yeah, we like kind of cut a groove into it, like lightly cut a groove into it type of deal. But it looks pretty soft.
One of those tires.
You probably need really soft right off the hit because.
So it's brand new.
It just came out up here.
I wonder how well it would do against an A7.
So you're talking the Hoosier A7? Is that the one that everybody likes to run?
That seems to be they say it's like the cheater DOT purple crack, I guess you could say. Like that's what everyone is running in the road course world, and it's now people are running it in the Spectator drags.
The autocross, they run the R7s for road racing.
So the R7s, and then they have A7s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the A7's the autocross variant.
Okay, so that one probably heats up a little quicker because you need to use it right away, whereas the road course one probably goes 10 laps before it's kind of up to temperature.
I think the R7 takes longer to heat up.
Yeah, the R7 takes longer to heat up, but lasts longer.
That makes
sense. The A7
Yeah.
heats up right away, but you go out there and do 10 laps, you'll shred them. They'll melt. And they'll get greasy, and you'll start getting loose.
Well, different tracks act pretty different, too. Like the Freedom Factory is pretty hard on tires, whereas some tracks may be a little smoother. Like the infield of the Freedom Factory is really smooth. The track itself it's got a lot of bite to it.
Yeah, it does.
Like the drift guys will go through tires pretty quick there, but then they hit that inner area, which you guys ideally don't ever touch. They'll hit that inner area and it's like slick. It's like ice. So it's pretty interesting. I'd imagine there's a lot that a like real, not that you guys aren't real teams, but like a real racing program would be able to understand and change their car depending on where they're racing.
No, you can say it. We're not there.
This is amateur racing.
Yeah,
it is what it is. I mean, I amateur race all the time.
I'm driving my daily driver that I've had since high school. So.
Yeah, it's amateur racing. That's what Spectator drags probably should be. And I would imagine you want to keep it that way a little bit. Amateur
it's
drag.
tough.
I actually kind of tease everybody at home that I'm like one of the only ones it's like my regular daily driver car that I drive everywhere.
It really is. Like that's something he's had for I don't know.
So what car is that?
It's a 3000 GT.
The 3000
turbo.
GT. Yeah, that's what I remember you said that, but I didn't really ask you too much about it. How much, like, what's the combo on that? Is it really just like street setup, or do you change it a good amount for the?
I give him a hard time about how street this car is. I'm like, dude.
I mean, I still have the cruise control.
What are you doing, man? You fit the rules.
I fit the rules.
You're not in the gray area, man.
He's going above and beyond to like. He was telling me a story the other day. He's going above and beyond to like repair his factory gauges, like from the 90s. It's like, dude, delete those.
No, I have to make them work with the ignition.
Oh yeah, you do whatever. It's like, dude, rip those things out. Like, you don't even look at those things. You know, like everything is. He has everything. Yeah. Probably has a tape deck in there still.
I just took it out actually not long ago.
They're not easy cars to work on.
I had the Pioneer radio, you know, with the had the Dolphin and the race car and everything.
They're not easy cars to do engine work on when you gotta dig in there.
Little hands.
Yeah, sure you've worked on it long enough now. You can probably work on it better than anyone.
Oh yeah, I could do it with my eyes closed.
What is the setup on it now?
On mine,
yeah,
is twin 5858s, ID 1700s.
Yeah, nothing like that.
E85.
I thought you were 6062 for some reason.
No. And the 58s are too big. It's over turboed. It sucks for Spectator drives.
Probably makes some good power though. I mean, it probably feels really fast on the street.
Yeah, like
going
it's good on the
60
highway.
to 130. Yeah. That probably feels great.
Actually, the 60 to 130 is not that good because I have to shift. And, training hasn't been cooperating too good lately. But it's actually getting sorted out as we speak.
This guy's still on a single disc and clutch shifting every single, like, letting off of the throttle. He doesn't have a strain gauge, doesn't even have no lift to shift setup. On a old school, like, my opinion, I call him eBay spec clutch, that single disc that's in there, and it's just a regular basic
And the clutch
setup.
has been in there for years and years.
I do not know how, dude. I do not know how.
Is it on like a lot of tire, or does it spin the tires
Listen,
pretty well?
a lot of tire.
I'm on
Too
4
much.
315s.
Oh wow! Yeah.
They stick out like a foot
Yeah.
each side of the panel.
All the poke.
Oh, yeah.
He actually won the first Danger Ranger Spectator drags. Right?
Oh, okay.
Was that at
Yeah.
the Freedom Factory?
Yeah.
First Danger Ranger.
You were in a Ranger. You're saying?
No,
Oh, they
he won
did
in
the
the-
Spectator
In the Mitsubishi.
Yeah, they used
Actually,
us
both
to-
of us, we both won, to be honest. We
I mean-
both beat that Corvette at the end.
Yeah.
What Corvette was it?
It was,
C8.
the C8, Matt Whittington.
Interesting. I didn't realize the CA went that far.
So
In
he beat the
Spectator
C8
drags.
twice, but they called a jump on one of them, so they made him race it a third time, and
I
he blew up.
Scattered the
And I
rods
was-
down the track.
And I had just won the semifinal, so whoever won that race, I was going to face. And because he blew up, it was supposed to be me and him, but then I raced the C8, and I beat the C8 too, so we both beat him.
Yeah, that
It's
was
kinda
the
fun.
that was like the first. Well, technically
Because it
the
was
second
best of
event.
3.
Yeah.
Best of 3 races.
Yeah, technically it was the second event that they did. They had some like
Yeah, 'cause-
pop up one that was just like meh.
Yeah, but that was last minute. Like
Yeah. They just had it, which was cool. They did just like a little pop up spectator drag.
The
like,
Danger Range was
next
the
weekend,
first
and
one
I'm
they
like,
announced.
damn,
so.
I want to go, but I couldn't get down to Florida that fast and on short notice. But yeah, we had that one, and then how many more did we have after that?
We did that one in January that one time.
Yep.
I just came with you. Remember, I left my car home.
That was last year.
Yeah.
Right?
And we did the following Danger
I think
Ranger.
they've had like 5 Spectrag.
Yeah, they've had quite a few.
And they get
thinking
bigger and
back,
bigger every
I
time.
didn't think there was that many, but realizing back that they did that, because I definitely haven't watched that many of them. I've probably only seen like 3.
Jeez, to think we've been to almost every one of them.
I've been to
Northeast.
been to
As
everyone but
spectators.
the last Danger Ranger. Because I was at Seacon. We had
Oh yeah,
Seacon,
that's right.
yeah.
We skipped it. That is the one that rained out.
Which one?
No,
think that-
Danger Ranger this year? I don't think it rained out, did it?
No,
No,
I
it
don't
went
know.
on. Yeah.
one of them
Yeah,
got smoked
Matt
in the
Whittington
rain.
won it again.
They started the spectator drags. I think they went 2 or 3 rounds and then it downpoured.
That was
Oh, what,
open
Michigan?
track night.
Oh, it like
Okay.
flooded
Yeah.
out the pits and everything. Like it was a
Yeah.
lot of rain. Yeah.
Just like that, too. Like
That's Florida,
no
man. It's
time.
just like it's either no rain or flooded. You don't really get this in between drizzle, nice, easy rain.
I was really hoping, man. I was in Florida. They get rain. You guys get rain and it dries in like 30 minutes. And I'm like, I was looking at the rain this weekend. I'm like, whatever. It's gonna rain. It'll dry right
Yeah.
up. You guys getting a storm this weekend.
Yeah, like it's basically
Yeah,
they call it a
You were saying a hurricane?
they call it a bomb cyclone when it's in the winter, but it's the same pressures as a hurricane, technically. So it will pretty much be hurricane like force wind and rain. It's going to be like 25-mile-an-hour winds and stuff. So
And you're
25?
yeah,
you're
It's not that bad.
we're
not crazy, but here. And it's gonna hit like north of us, so
Oh, I see.
we're just getting like a outer band of it.
so here we're sea level, right?
Yeah, pretty much all of Florida.
And there's nowhere where water to go other than dry up when the sun comes out at that point.
Well, we've had a really serious drought all year, so it'll probably soak into the ground as best it can. But when the ground's that dry, it takes forever to soak into the ground, so it's going to sit there for probably
Because I noticed
A day.
your water runoff, I guess you could call it, are just like trenches on the side of the road, right?
yeah. We have a lot of those.
So do those fill up like all the way to the top?
Yeah, they'll fill up pretty good. They're like requirement. If you build a building, you have to build X amount of water runoff and like X amount of water retention. So we have tons of those all around Florida, and then there are alligators in basically every single one of them. If you guys haven't, just stop at one and look around a little bit, and you'll probably see an alligator.
Really?
Yeah, they're pretty much every single one of them. Like there's like 3 in my neighborhood that all have alligators
It's like
in
the
them.
equivalent of bullfrogs for us in the pond.
Are they friendly?
Probably not. Some of them are probably fed by the neighbors that live there, which they tell you not to do. But you know, people still do that.
No kidding. That's a real thing.
I'd like to see some all-wheel drive Hondas come out there because you know they go 7s in the quarter mile.
What's his name? What's his name came out with one? One of the Boosin' Boys guy. I forgot his name.
Yeah, Kyle had one.
Kyle, yes, Kyle Wade. He brought one out for the Spectator Drags.
The red one.
Yeah.
Last year.
Oh yeah,
He had a couple problems, but that was also another car on my list. I was like, man, if one of these all-wheel drive Hondas showed up, they're really light and they have a massive aftermarket support, and they would do really, really good. There's tons of them out there. Don't know why they don't.
But I don't think Kyle's my boy, one of my close friends. I don't think he's the type of guy to like even attempt to drive his car to like 10/10ths. You know what I mean? Like he just like with that car, I don't think he cared to. I think he was more just like, oh, I'm just gonna go out there and make a couple laps. And, like,
you
have
could
fun.
definitely see his confidence build up as he went.
Yeah,
and he started sending it harder and harder and harder, and then he did really well, in my opinion.
It's a fast car.
Yeah.
Like it's a really fast drag car, super competitive.
He put NTO1s on it.
Yeah.
I think
they were a little skinny.
Yeah, they were like 225s or something. Like, okay.
Yeah. That'd be the other problem, I guess. They don't fit a whole lot of tire, but they are like 70% front wheel drive and then like just a little bit of rear for like traction control kind of. It's weird how they work. They're mostly front wheel drive.
I don't know how the system works, but I know it.
CRV, right?
I know that viscous coupler in them, a lot of them. So they have like in the drive shaft, they have this like in between the rear axle and the front axle, they have this like viscous coupler that's filled with like grease, and once it spins to a certain amount, it locks it. So it's almost like a clutch style system. And
what's the power limit on those? I've heard people running stock.
A lot. Like
really?
7s in the quarter mile, basically.
Well, in all fairness, a lot of those cars that I've watched from World Cup finals of those guys running before they were all-wheel drive, they have those cars dialed in from all the traction control, and they basically just hold it to the computer does the rest, and they just you hear it cutting power first and second gear, and it ramping in. So adding their rear tires was like an assist. So a lot of those guys that were running like 9s, tickling in the 8s, instantly just threw in. They threw in these like stock, which was kind of cool. Yeah. And they would just knock off half a second, a full second just with the assist. Well, so I think it would do really well.
Where it started with the drag guys, they use their front wheel drive Hondas, and they would like tire shake and try to like fight the front end, and like it wouldn't get down the 60-foot well. All of a sudden they had this traction control that was just kind of pushing them. And I'm sure they wouldn't like me calling it like a traction control, but that's pretty much what it is. It's just like that. A little extra assist back there, and then once you're rolling, it almost does nothing. Like once you're up to speed, it's just kind of hanging out back there, it's so weird. Such a weird system.
Yeah, a Honda would kill it. Definitely. That I totally forgot about that.
There's even like they did a truck race, I think, once, truck and SUV, which is extra scary. There were people out there in like 3,500 dualies. I was like, okay.
Charlie was hyped on the truck race.
Yeah, he tried. Yeah, that's 10. He entered the truck race, and people were just like, "What the heck?" I mean, it's not fair.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd consider a 2-door like a real
truck. A truck is a truck.
I get it. I just don't know if it fits the spirit. That's where it comes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, for sure.
It doesn't fit the spirit of the class.
You know what's really it's funny you brought up the trucks too, because the pickup truck. Spectator drags is big up in Maine, and it's crazy. Like there's videos, millions of views who just pick up truck Spectator drags. My bad, with turbos in them and whatnot, and just sending it, just absolutely sending it. And we actually had one of the drivers, Steve, down here for the track rental too, and the thing just takes off.
It's all four-wheel drive launch.
Yeah. Silver.
Was it single turbo or twin turbo LS?
Single turbo.
Yeah.
Single turbo.
Just like animal out of the hole.
They're fast. I mean, my buddy had a BMW SUV, and he did it, and it was a really competitive SUV for it, because as it should be. But then the people in those big full-size trucks with their work logo on the side and stuff. And it's like, oh,
there's one of the guys in Maine had one of those. I think he turned up the torsion bars like on the front right. and it looked ridiculous, and he would you have to see this video. He would drift the track in his work truck.
Yeah.
Ladder racks and everything. Didn't care. It was full send this thing around the track. I was like, this guy's wild. There's no way. He's just...
Well, that might be Steve, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Hey, and then he went from that to he had just a yellow light on the top.
Okay. It was like
And now he's got nothing.
I don't know who the driver was, but it was definitely like a 2500 or a 3500 like HD or something like that, and he did not care at all if that thing rolled or not. I was like, he's one bump away from rolling that thing. Yeah, they were full send. Also up in Maine, what they did to help with car count and discouraging people from only going one round and being eliminated, they set up A class and a B class. I think it's called. Yep. So like completely stock street car, like your RAV4, your Toyota Corolla, you know, and then everyone else was like, okay, here,
because that's what Spectator drive is supposed to be.
Yeah,
people like
it was supposed to be. Yeah, I mean that's the whole purpose of it, right? It was Spectator drives like, all right, guys, go out to the parking lot, go get your car if you want to race each other, and then people did, and now here we are with freaking not Spectator drag car.
Well, that's how I felt it always was. All those V8s, they were like just C-Con cars. And here I am. I was just trying to beat them, you know?
Well, I'm sure the second they were like, okay, go get what you got, and people show up with their Mustang or something, you know, and they have a lot of power in them. So almost immediately we're the fastest cars in the parking lot, I'm sure. Especially if you're going to a circle track, you probably already own something that's significantly fast. You're not really watching racing if you're just like, oh yeah, I have a Prius and I wanted to see what this was all about. So I get how that kind of ends up happening. But yeah, the truck race is scary. That one, I was cringing watching that one. I was just like, I was wincing a little bit. I'm like, oh, like kind of not watching because like them come around and like the body roll is like all the way over to one side. And
so
that's what the fans want, right?
Yeah.
They want the carnage.
I entered my Tundra into that I trailered down.
Oh.
I entered my towing vehicle into that for the car count.
As one does.
1,500 miles away from home. A lot of people don't know this, but I almost crashed into the wall. I had that. I was coming out of turn 4, and I turned the wheel, and nothing happened. And I like started touching the brakes. I'm like, oh, I can't touch the brakes. That will make it worse. And I had nothing. I was like, oh my God. And then finally it slowed down and I was like, nope, I am done. I'm never doing that again. In a truck, it's a lot, man. When that weight shifts, it's it.
I took your truck out there, remember?
Oh yeah. You were doing the parade lap.
Well, I guess I have to mention too, there was that 370Z guy that crashed his car that he drove down. And he drove it all the way down. And that was the first one, because it was live on YouTube at the time, and I think they were even like giving money in the chat to like give to him.
Yeah. Were they?
He was doing really well. Like he was like a front runner to win, and then just like
this was at the Spectator drags.
The very first practice one.
Oh, I didn't watch that. Yeah.
Yeah, the 370Z went in the wall racing the ZR1.
Okay. Yeah. He got like, okay, yeah.
He was just like progressively like one of those deals where
he was going into 3
send it
faster
harder
and faster.
Yeah. And then you outdrive your skill, or you outdrive your car, or something fails.
Man, you're only going to crash. You're only going to crash if you want to risk it. At any point in time, you could just relax, man. Doesn't. Yeah. But it's hard. Listen, no one goes out there and wants to crash.
Nobody remembers your name if you're relaxed.
Anytime I had somebody on the inside, I'm like, okay, you can just go because I don't want you pushing it.
Yeah. So it's just when you just keep on going, when that competitive, if you have that competitive nature in you where you just want to battle and you just don't. It's weird. It's hard to explain when you're out there.
Yeah.
With anything competitive. Where I come from, but like when you don't think about the risks once you start doing it, you're like you're going with whatever happens. You're not thinking about that stuff. You don't have time. You're going 80, 90 miles an hour in a corner. Like, is this a good idea? You're not gonna have a conversation with yourself. You're just in it for the moment and cross your fingers and hopefully nothing happens.
I feel like classes would be kind of nice with like a rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive class. Like if they had the car count.
Listen, that's a sore subject. That's
perfect. I love bringing up those.
So no doubt we should have different classes. Absolutely. But back to your car count.
Yeah, of course.
And there are very slow all-wheel drive cars.
Yeah.
That rear-wheel drive
Different
cars
classes of drivers,
dominate.
not the cars.
You know,
Of course.
it's
It
tough.
would
to
really
do.
only help the rear-wheel drive guys
But-
and like the front-wheel drive guys,
Eight.
where they would kind of feel like they have their
They've
own
been
deal.
dreaming about having their own class.
Yeah, like it wouldn't, because no, it's no secret that a front-wheel drive car is just not going to be that great.
Correct. But
Maybe they could just have their own class. It happens in drag racing. They have their own class in all drag racing.
they do. But when you go to World Cup finals and you watch those front wheel drive cars, those guys, think about those front wheel drive cars that spent years of trying to be fast, years that developed to what they are now. And then when you see those guys run down the track and they're catching all the rear wheel drive cars, that it makes a good show. They figured out a way how to be fast. Sure, front wheel drive's a complete disadvantage, and you have to put in way more time and way more money to get where you need to go. But there are fast rear-wheel drive cars that can compete with all-wheel drive cars.
I think those two could be in the same class together. That makes sense.
It's just that when you have 10 or 15 rear-wheel drive cars that are all just slow, but they're competitive within each other, and then one all-wheel drive car shows up and just spanks them all, that's where things get a little weird. And it's like, all right. But you have like Charlie. Dude, Charlie doesn't lose against all-wheel drive cars, really. I mean, it's tough.
No, he's like three-wheel drive for the most part.
So like he like when he races the rear-wheel drive cars, like there's nobody out there. There's nobody out there that really touches him with the rear-wheel drive. So he has to race the all-wheel drive cars. He likes to chase that. He likes to go after that. So it really comes down to like how much you want to put into it. But
It's a different mentality than the other
yeah,
guy.
yeah, it definitely is. But you got to keep the car count, man. You can't turn them away. What they ended up doing to try to, I think what they tried to do was our track. They started making a tire rule for the all-wheel drive guys. They're like, hey,
That makes sense.
they're like, hey, listen, no 100 tread wear for you guys. Everyone else can have them, but you guys can't. And it's like, all right. And I was kind of spoken to about like, hey, listen, put 200 tread wear tires on your car. Like, let's try not to do that. It was kind of like under the table. Like, no, it was kind of hush hush. It wasn't like written in the rules. So I was like, I'll buy 200 tread wear tires. Like, back to that discussion. But then they ended up making the rule 300 tread wear for all-wheel drive, which
That bans a lot of like brand new cars.
bans stock cars.
Yeah.
Like Subaru, like STIs, they come up with like 260.
Yeah.
So they started making this like tire
Even
rule.
like the Porsche. Like,
Yep.
I don't think that thing comes with 300.
Well,
tread wear
why would you?
tires.
Why would you?
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so they started making the tire rules for the all-wheel drive, which I thought was kind of funny because I'm like, oh, cool, they were putting new rules in. So, you go after that, and that didn't work out for them too well. I went and put 560s on my car, the cheapest, crappiest tire ever. So I've tried to tell them, like, listen, if you want to slow down all-wheel drive, I'll tell you how to slow us down. But they don't want to hear it. They want to do their own thing. I'm like, okay, fine.
How would they slow him down? What would they do? What would they do to you to slow you down? Tell us the secret. If I were to guess what they would do to all-wheel drive to slow him down, that would be across the board for all cars, new or old.
I would limit tire size, the width.
Yeah, but like again, like a Porsche comes with like a 315 from factory.
Whatever, sucks for you. Time
Sorry,
to put a
bud.
small. Yeah, I mean, who's showing? I put on a smaller tire. That's what I would do. That's personally what I would do, because when you go for that whole shot, you're probably gonna roast the tires. It's gonna slow you down because it's a no prep situation. You're still gonna have an advantage, but it's when the Camaros are out there running 315s and 335s, and you're ripping around on a 225. That's where I would attack.
It's funny because like all-wheel drive for the most part doesn't show up in any other form of like motorsports.
Yeah, it's actually not better at anything.
Like in drag racing, like all-wheel drive, like
Yeah,
It
it's
doesn't
trash.
it doesn't
It's
matter to me.
trash.
The only people that use it are those Hondas and like the rare DSM that use it. But like
NASCAR doesn't use all-wheel drive.
No,
I mean,
no,
nothing. It's gone.
absolutely.
no fast road course. Formula One doesn't do it. Like if it was so good, everybody would do it. But then it only helps you in spectator tracks.
Because it's a no prep situation.
Maybe rally. Sorry, if I didn't rally, people would be pissed.
Well, it's a no prep situation, and it's you don't have
Yeah,
you
but
don't
even
have
on
that.
no prep, if you go out to like Oklahoma for their no prep race,
But they're all on
there's
slicks.
nobody on no all-wheel drive. Yeah, they're all on just a big slick. Even like a
They're not even doing puddle burnouts or anything.
They do a little burnouts.
Yeah.
They get them warm.
You don't even really get that.
It's got to be DOT.
You got to be a DOT tire too, so you can't run a
Street
slick.
cars, spectators.
I voted. I said, listen, rear wheel drive, give them whatever they want, any tire they want.
Can
Let
they
'em-
do burnouts in rear wheel? If
Yeah.
you have a rear wheel drive car, you get
Yeah.
to do a burnout before you
sure.
pull up.
Yeah, do it.
Can you throw some prep in there, like just put it down and then you do your burnout?
You
in it?
can't, but like I'm sure someone has thought about it or
That would be
think
kind of
about
cool
it.
if in the infield they had a little prep spot where you can like put some like sauce down, because that's what the drag racers do. They do a burnout in the prep and then
Mm-hmm.
they pull up to the line.
I raced with my local street street guys, and they beat me up. They're all rear wheel drive cars. I'm the only all wheel drive car. They trash on me, and I'm
Yeah.
like, but when you can't put anything down and you don't have that, you can't run a slick. I tell them, like let the Mickey Thompsons run. In Maine, they let them run them, right? The Mickey Thompsons, I'm pretty sure they do. They let them run like ET Streets or drag radials or something.
Yeah.
like that.
Oxford Plains.
Yeah, I think they let them.
I
They
think
don't
that
enforce
Robert
any
Hill
rules.
guy said they used to have tire rules, but they
Yeah, they don't
anymore.
enforce rules anymore. So I think they should just to even the field, give rear wheel drive whatever tire they want, and restrict the size on all wheel drive. But then you start going into like it's not spectator drags anymore. Now
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
building like a
Class
specific.
racing.
All
yeah.
of these things that we're talking about are like not spectators.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it becomes class
exactly.
racing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's one thing in streetcar racing, in streetcar rules and drag racing, where you can't have more than a 10-inch wide wheel, and that makes everybody runs the same Mickey Thompson 275.
275 tire. Yep.
But if you have a 12-inch wide wheel, you can stretch it and get more contact patch.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy with the 10-inch wide wheel and the guy with the 12-inch wide wheel on the same tire have different size contact patch just because of the wheel size.
They'll stretch a 275 tire like that.
They'll stretch it onto like a 14-inch wide
No
wheel.
kidding.
So it'll look all like circular versus mine looks like normal tire, and it's the same tire, but you get so much more
But
contact
you're
patch.
riding on the sidewall.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's so a wheel width is an interesting thing because everybody runs the same tire at least, but not with you guys. And you probably run a small, like how big is the wheels on your car?
What's 275?
But like the wheel exactly,
Oh,
like I said, a
17.
17. Yeah, so then
275,
like
40.
the Porsche has like a 20.
Yeah.
So you can't even run even similar tires.
Yeah, and that is also another variable to there is getting out of the hole. That whole shot, you only have so much time to catch up. You have one lap, right? So not only do you need the rear wheel drive, needs a tire to launch, needs that softer sidewall, needs to get out of the hole, but they need a tire that can also turn. So you can't just go throw away a slick on there because then go ahead and try to turn with one. So they try to find that balance between the two.
Yeah, you need a race, like a road course style tire at least. You can't look towards drag racing and think you're going to gain anything from there. You're kind of screwed on that portion of it. Yeah, it's an interesting sport. It takes a lot of different kinds of ingenuity. I feel like I saw the Tesla was using tire warmers. Was that
I would believe it, but I
like
Why
they
not?
had like
myself.
they go
Yeah,
over
like
the
the
tires?
street bikes do.
The rumor is $1 million race team, right? So I mean, why cut it short there? Like I probably
If the rules say you can't, if the rules don't say you can't, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just do whatever you want.
But put the thing up on jacks and put tire warmers on that thing before the race. Is
was he
wild.
on E7s?
I don't know what he was on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I
he
just
was.
know it was slicks.
The problem is that car is heavy, so those tires may not be rated for that weight. And that's always a worry too with the Teslas is when you put
Was breaking records everywhere, so he's doing something.
Yeah, he was doing something smart. But like once you put the heavy tires on those tires on a heavy car that they're not really rated for, you're changing a lot of what the tires should be doing. I was actually asking the tire guys at Pirelli this. I was like, all these cars every year, they come out with this new 911 and it's this much faster on the Nürburgring. I was like, how much of it is just you guys coming out with better tires? Because they were telling me how when they put new tires on old cars, they pick up like still a ton of time on the Nürburgring. And all these car companies are bragging about like, look what we did, when it's really just the tires that are doing it.
The tire is probably the best mod for spectator drags or circle track.
Yeah. And it's funny that they always claim that it's like something else or suspension or all this stuff, but it really just comes down to the tires and getting the heat in them. Can you do any like dry hop or anything? You clean them off, like, because that's what the all-wheel drive guys do in drag racing. You'll see when the car goes around the water box, they don't dry hop or anything, and they'll have 3 guys like wiping the dirt off of them.
What all-wheel drive? I'm trying to remember who does that. Most all-wheel drive cars that I see drag race, they're going right through the burnout box. I'd say the ones that aren't doing burnouts, maybe they've just broken too much stuff.
Yeah, they just like go around the burnout box and they just try
Are they
to
on a
wipe
street
off the
tire?
tires. No,
Really?
they're on slicks and they don't even get them warm. They just wipe off the tires. It's really weird.
Yeah.
They just get the dirt off of them and try to get the rocks off of them. It's an interesting thing.
Yeah, I mean, some of the... Is that what the GT... No, well, the GTRs are more
GTRs
rear-wheel drive down. Like,
yeah. They do like a dry hop burnout because they have like a burnout mode that disconnects the front end.
Yep.
But then like the Hondas will go around the burnout box. And I think there was even a Colt, like an all-wheel drive Colt guy that was doing it. And he went 7s with his car. And they would do the same thing. They would just clean off the tires, wouldn't do anything crazy. It's weird. The all-wheel drive stuff, I don't understand it at all. But it doesn't make sense either because there's the different systems. So like the Subaru is so different than what you're dealing with.
So the Subaru has like the motor's the other way. So it's like it has a direct line. There's like no transfer case. It's just like clutch and then your transmission.
Yeah.
With a Mitsubishi, you have to change that, how the power is delivered. So it has to make a 90-degree turn and then another 90-degree turn. So you have technically 2 ring and pinions that can just explode.
Yeah,
and then that's just
like
more drag. Yeah. So you have a T case to a rear diff that, so, but the joke was for a while, not so much a joke, I guess, but a 4G63, because the motors are so dominant, with a 6-speed STI transmissions, because those things are like bulletproof. If you put those two to get, Subaru motors are junk, Mitsubishi driveline is trash.
Yeah.
So like, let's try. And a couple people actually tried putting the two together, and it looks weird, but no one's been successful like with it yet, I don't think. But it's kind of a cool thing. But yeah, the Subaru driveline, how it's designed, is just like, it's kind of badass.
Yeah, that works pretty well too from like a driveline perspective. They're easier to work on than anything else as well.
Oh my God,
Any other all-wheel drive.
You'll do a clutch in an hour.
Yeah.
Like you just slide the transmission back, boop, put it back on.
And the engine just kind of like pulls right out.
Yeah. It's literally 2 bolts and an engine harness, couple little.
It's easier to take the engine out to do anything basically on those cars.
Yeah, sometimes it's just easier. It's just like, it sucks if you have to do anything in the heads because they have to come off.
Yeah.
Spark plug changes. Terrible.
Take the engine out. Yeah. Just to do the plugs.
You're always doing like, if you're racing those things, lash adjustments on those stuff.
I've actually seen a few F bodies do pretty well in spectator drags too, which is weird because F bodies are kind of like this, like they're not that great of cars, but then somehow they do pretty well in spectator drags.
They handle good if you set them up right.
Yeah, like they have a lot of aftermarket support, but like...
Well, where did you see F-Bodies doing good in spectator drags?
Probably just in his videos.
That's
probably it. That's probably the only spectator drags I've actually ever seen.
100%. No, there's a lot of, there's a lot of them up there, up north too, and you don't see them a lot of other places too. And sometimes I get comments where it's like, oh, there's where all the F-Bodies went,
Half the field is F-Bodies.
But... it is cool to see, like, yeah, competitive, like American Muscle out there, and then you have the imports come out, and you just have the variety. But they, yeah, they're definitely. It's cool to watch them on the circle track for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely some surprising videos I've seen where I don't think that they're going to make the turn basically at the speeds that they're going. I'm like, oh, no shot. Like, it's not going to like that. And somehow, there's a solid axle car, you wouldn't expect it to work that well.
Yeah, the where you're talking about at Seekonk, like, that's what they do. Like, that's how that, like, town, that's what that town does.
Just spectator drags.
No, I mean, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's not that many drag strips up north either, so
we're right in the middle of the city.
Outlet.
We're like 5 minutes from downtown Providence.
Oh,
maybe
really?
10 minutes.
Yeah.
But the people all around there, man, it's like you do what your friends do, and you only become as fast as your competition or your surroundings. You know, like no one's gonna go. You know, if you're into something and you have 10 friends and they're into something else, like, are you gonna like just hang out by yourself and do your one thing? So they all kind of like, let's all have Camaros, let's all do fun stuff. I want to buy a Camaro, I want to buy a Camaro, and so they have they all kind of do the same stuff and they're trying different things and when you do that over and over and over and over again, I mean, you really can't get slower. You're only going to get better.
Bang for your buck. I mean, it's a good car. It fits a lot of tire. Got a lot of aftermarket support. LS already.
Wheelbase too.
Yeah, long wheelbase, stick shift, LS right from the factory or auto.
I always thought like a 03, 04 Cobra would kill it because it's like IRS in the rear.
Yep.
And it would do better in the corners, but believe it or not, Mustangs do trash at Spectator drags for some reason.
Even the IRS ones, though, probably would do a little better, I would imagine.
Trash in YouTube videos, too.
but they just don't do it. That's the thing. Like I said, you do what your friends do.
Art actually did some work with his this year.
Yeah, the primer one?
Man. Yeah, the primer one.
I think he's, what motor's in that?
I don't know anything about it.
Listen, it's not a 5. It's fast. It does really well for a Mustang because Mustangs are trash at Spectator drags.
That's so weird.
Yeah, well, I know, right? But
so backwards.
It is, but it's only because no one they're not doing it. But he's actually doing really well. He's come a long way, and I don't know if it's Coyote swapped or not, but it has some swap in it. Mm-hmm. He has some swap in it.
Maybe like 600 horse.
Yeah, he's NA, right? He doesn't have a blower or anything. Mm-hmm. So like he does really well. It's a pretty fast car.
I think about a car like Von Gedden has that drift Fox body and it's IRS swapped. Mm-hmm. So like something like that set up for going around a track would be pretty wild because it's probably 2,600 pounds.
Which one is this?
It's a black Fox body that he like drifts with,
okay.
that he just plays around with. It's not like he doesn't competitively drift it or anything, but it's IRS swapped because the Cobra kits, I guess, bolt right into those. So you can just IRS swap a Fox body.
Where does he live at? Is he here in Florida?
It's just a drift car. I think it's in North Carolina or something.
Oh, okay.
Something around there. But yeah, I mean, like something like that seems like it'd be a great car.
Yeah, let's go. What are you doing, dude? Like
he would drift the whole track. Though.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like
I'm sure the car count will go up over the next year or so. If anybody's listening to this and you don't know what motorsports to compete in, maybe Spectator drags is your go-to. Because I feel like that I have that talk with some of my friends too. They're like kind of around us all the time, but not like in anything. They don't drag race. They don't like have a burnout car or drift car or anything. So I'm like, what would be your ideal competition then? Like, because most of us can only build one car, so you kind of have to pick which lane you want to be in. Spectator drags is probably a great lane for a lot of people.
Very affordable. You know.
I wonder, are they doing it in Connecticut when Garrett goes up there?
I don't think so. I don't think they have a circle track.
Waterford does Spectator drags.
Yeah, but
they only do it a couple times a year though.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know what they're doing there. I think they're just doing a burnout contest, right?
Yeah, I know they're doing a burnout contest and Crown Vic race.
Oh, okay. So is it? It is a circle track.
Must be. Sounds like
What's
it is to me.
up? Spectator drags in Connecticcut.
Yeah, I mean,
well, he's going to what?
Listen,
Stafford?
everybody from New England would go. You would have like a.
Don't know.
You would probably, if he did that and whether we opened, you would instantly have like
I think
40.
he's having a Cletus and cars at Stafford, if I'm not mistaken.
That's what I think it is, because
Yeah.
they're pouring a burnout pit for it.
That's
So it's
insane.
in
how they
Connecticut.
just decided to pour a burnout.
Yeah. They're
Oh, he's
pouring
coming. Here's a burnout.
Yeah, so they're doing a Crown Vic race in, I think it's July or something, June in Connecticut. Burnout contest and Crown Vic race. So maybe there's an outlet for Spectator drags there if maybe Garrett needs to be told that there's actually participation up there, because he may not even know.
I mean,
it
it's
may not be on his
northeast,
radar.
So
We have a lot that come down here already. But yeah, up there you would instantly get a 40. I would say a 40-50 car count, and you'd get the Seekonk car count
Especially
especially because it's a
instantly.
Cletus event.
Yeah, you would
Yeah.
you would have that at least.
I mean,
You
get
have
us.
you have potential. Oh man,
Well, the Crown Vic race doesn't take all day.
No.
Like there's an avenue where it's Spectator drags in the morning, Crown Vic race in the evening.
Spectator drags doesn't really take that long.
Not really, and
Especially if it's
you,
organized and you bang it out.
and if you limit car count where like you kind of like, you know, people send in what car they have and you yes or no them, to where you kind of have good action packed cars, because it is an event that you have like this, you're kind of putting on a show. You don't just want like anybody with any car in the world at some of these like bigger shows, I guess you could say. I know it makes it sound exclusive, but like when it's a big show like that, you kind of have to be a little bit.
If you get that many in.
Same with burnout cars. Like burnout cars are the same deal almost. They kind of have to limit them a little bit. But yeah, well, that's about it, guys. We can wrap this up. Where can they find everybody at? I know you probably are the real social media one here. I don't know if you guys do much social media.
Absolutely, no, they do.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the coolest thing. Like, for me to have the ability to share this stuff and put it on platforms and give these guys shout outs, and like that's a big part of it for me too. To like when I share this stuff, I want everyone who's put in the effort over the years to you know, get notoriety as well. And so yeah, with me, like T-Berg Media on YouTube, and I've expanded on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok as well, and it's a blast to watch this stuff grow and share it together, and give people a chance to really get on the track, test their abilities, and
Understand what's going on, put it in front of
100%.
people. It's good. Yeah, the media is important. So definitely keep that up. T-Bird Media, right?
Yep.
So
And
T-Bird Media,
It's just Mike Vincent on Facebook, Mike V Tuned Instagram.
Mike V Tuned. How can people find you? How can they listen to you and watch your car?
Don't.
How can people keep up with the DSM adventures?
I kind of just push everything over to Tyler at T-Berg Media.
Yeah.
I don't really post a lot of videos or any of that stuff. I don't have the time for it. I don't know how you guys do it.
don't really
But I
post
guess
much
if you
either.
wanted to like just kind of follow like what the next time I'm racing or
Yeah,
whatever.
keep some progress updates for them.
Just Kenny Kline on Facebook. I usually just use Facebook and Instagram. And that's really it.
just
Yeah.
tune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to
At
tune. I don't want to
yourself.
tune your
At yourself. Come on.
Mitsubishi.
Hit him up to tune your Mitsubishi.
No.
He'll answer any questions. Good deal, guys. Well, thanks for coming on. That was a good time.
Thanks for
Awesome.
having us.
I'll see you guys next time.